Okay, so this is my DC trip, starting with the airplane. Very exciting. Our first stop was the Museum of the Bible. It was one of the first things we did when we got there. They had all these calendars of how the division of days took place from like Christ's life. I love that. Time and calendar. This had all these different scriptures in different languages. It was really neat. Beautiful. It was so massive, the whole museum. This was a really neat exhibit they had. That's the size of a prison cell, and there were all these stories of different prisoners. C.S. Lewis. Narnia, gives Narnia vibes. Talking about the conversion of C.S. Lewis. J.R.R. Tolkien was actually a big reason he converted to Christianity. They were really good friends, the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings. This was it was showing about different countries where they banned Bibles and they had like Bible burnings. This was really neat. All the books, it showed a bunch of different books that were based on something in the Bible, like a story. They were showing The Chosen in there. They had a theater just to like show The Chosen. Okay, and then this, The World of Jesus of Nazareth. Oh my word. It was so cool. It reminded me a lot of The Chosen, like seeing The Chosen set, because it's like a city of Nazareth, like what it would have looked like. There was a wine press, like how they stomped on the grapes and the wine drained out. Oh, it was really cool. Just showing like what the city would have looked like in that time. A little home. What a house would have looked like. Where they would have kept like a cellar. I was so happy in there. It was just really neat. It talked about their culture of hospitality. This is like what the synagogue looked like. It reminded me of The Chosen. If you've watched that, this is what it looked like. Like a little church. Okay, then that same day, we went to the Capitol to do a tour of the Capitol. Look how many people were there. So crowded. It was so beautiful. This is like the room that has the dome. There's all these like significant paintings on the walls. Our tour guide just kind of like talked us through what they all meant, what they were of. Oh, look at that. Here's another of just like this painting up there. At the top, it looks kind of like a sculpture, but it's actually a painting. Oh, it's so cool. And that dome again. It's so beautiful. Okay, after this, we went, this isn't still in the Capitol. It was like a museum. This is where Abraham Lincoln, he was the first one to be held in state when he was killed. And they used that same thing everybody that's held in state in the Capitol. Of course, they've replaced some of the wood. This was Obama's actual place setting after his inauguration for the luncheon that they had. That was his plate and setting for that, which I thought was really cool. And there's the menu, everything they had. It was just neat. There's our little outside view of the Capitol. So, like, regal looking. So pretty. There's so much grass surrounding the Capitol. This was Union Station. I just like popped in here really quick because I thought it was so pretty. And I just wanted to show like what it looked like. And they had lots of shops and stuff. So that first night we were exhausted. But we did all the memorials that night because it was supposed to rain the rest of the nights. So this is the steps up to the Lincoln Memorial. And right across that little water area, Washington Monument. Going up to see old Abe. This might be my favorite memorial. It's just so beautiful. Just that the whole sculpture is just so pretty and massive. Chinatown. This was the next day. I went to Chinatown by myself because you know I've got to do it. I had to go get some authentic Chinese food. So I looked up one of the best places it said to maybe go. And there's what I got, all my food. It was so delicious. And it did taste authentic. Oh, botanical gardens. Botanical gardens are one of my favorite things to do in any city I go to. I did these by myself. I just put like music, chill music in my AirPods and walked around and like sat and just looked at everything. It was so gorgeous. The only parts they had open were the indoor like greenhouses, but there were so many. It just kept going and going and going. Hawaii, plants from Hawaii. Oh, I love botanical gardens. They put me in such a good mood. I was just so happy walking through there and looking. And like the waterfalls and stuff. It was just so nicely done. So pretty. This was the only day that I just had completely to myself. So I just took my time and went through at a leisurely pace. Can you believe how many rooms there were? I actually wanted to go back again, but I never made it back. There's so much to do. But this was my first time going to the botanical gardens. I had never been there before. In DC. It's nearing the end here. So pretty, so big. I definitely recommend these. Okay, that was, I can't remember the name of that. I just thought it was a pretty building. And I'm on this walkway here on my way to the Natural History Museum, right there. All these museums are free. What in the world? And the architecture is just so pretty. Here we go. Museum of Natural History. It was so cool. If you've been to the one in New York City, there are a lot of similarities between this one and the one in New York City, but I just love this museum. All these fossils. And I just took my time, like, reading the different things about how you could tell what they ate based on their fossils. And the sea, the ocean life was so cool. Look how big that whale is. Jellyfish. And then they had a little fish tank over here. Not little, it was pretty big. Buffalo. My 4-year-old would have loved this museum. I thought about him a lot in there. I was like, this would be fun. I actually did that, the Natural History Museum in New York City with him when he was just 1, so of course he doesn't remember it. But that's when I did that museum. Oh, they had so many pretty gems and like rock, what is it called? Like stone gems. It was amazing. It's just so crazy that these things come just out of the earth. It was actually a really spiritual experience for me because just looking at like all the things that God made, just how amazing this earth is. I mean, it's just incredible. Like, how could that happen by accident? Just so many animals, so many creatures, so many different colors and like types of rock. How amazing is that? It's just so beautiful. George Washington. That was his actual, like, what he wore, apparently. There he is. Now, this was the American History Museum. I went over there after. Look at all those things that come out of just presidents' names. Teddy bear. Oh, the First Lady's exhibit was really neat. Looking at all the inauguration dresses of all the First Ladies was really cool. Like the actual dresses. And it's also so crazy that like how nice the dresses were, and I'm sure they just wore them the one time. So pretty. Laura Bush, Michelle Obama, Melania Trump, Jill Biden, Dorothy Slippers. Did anybody watch I Dream of Jeannie? I loved that show when I was a kid. And it talked about like how misogynistic that time period was. And this was kind of poking at that. I really like that picture of Kennedy. These were kind of cool. I loved that portrait of Obama. Those flowers are like about Hawaii. George W. Bush, Clinton. These portraits were really cool. Like the portrait hall of presidents is in that museum. Look at that painting. This was at the art museum. I thought that was so gorgeous. The painter called it, it was like the New Eden. This was kind of a crazy thing to be in the art museum. Each of the 50 states had something on those TVs that had to do with the state. It was kind of trippy, actually. Oh, this is the People's Museum. This is what the White House is like on the inside. That's where the Vice President works, the executive office. It's so pretty, right beside the White House. There's the White House. This was the archives. The archives where the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which I'll show that here in a second. But this is the room that those are in. It was so crowded. We the people. Constitution. So crazy to see those documents. All those signatures. Bill of Rights. And the Declaration of Independence. It is so faded now. This was the African American History Museum. We did that. It was really pretty out there. This museum was a word museum, like the history of words. It was so neat. I didn't even know this museum existed. My husband found out about it. And so we got there right before they closed and they let us in to have a quick walk around. I wish we'd had more time, but it was really neat. Oh no. And here's the airport leaving DC. So sad. But it was such a wonderful trip, such a beautiful few days. Thanks for watching.